So now we're going to look at trinomials where the a value is greater than 1, like we started on that last page. So there's a set process. I have it here. Basically, we can't just go to those two parentheses with the x's in the front because we have to consider that front number. So we have some keywords on the side. The first thing we want to do is do rainbow. And what this does is instead of just trying to get a number that multiplies to negative 18, we're trying to get a number that multiplies to the product of these two numbers. So in this case, that's negative 36. The adding number still stays the same. So I'm trying to get something to add to 5 and multiply to negative 36. Basically, the 2 gets involved in determining what the terms are, whereas a 1 doesn't really make a difference, like a 1x squared. So numbers that work for that are 9 and negative 4. So we can see those two work. 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. 9 plus negative 4 is 5. So the next step is doing something called split the middle. Whatever numbers I picked here, I'm going to rewrite this middle term, the 5x, as the sum of those two terms. And I haven't changed anything because 5x is 9x minus 4x. Once again, their order doesn't matter. You could write negative 4x plus 9x. It will still work. What I'm doing now is I'm setting up for grouping. So once I have these four terms, I can group, take out GCFs for each pair, right? So here I take out an x, here I take out a negative 2, and then I factor out my common binomial factor just like we did in the last lesson. So 2x plus 9, and I have left over x minus 2. So a couple extra steps, but really as long as you can group and you can find those factor pairs like we did on the last page, you should be fine. So I'm going to move the page up just so we can see the next section. So we'll go slowly through a couple and then you can try more on your own. So here we have 4y squared minus 9y plus 2. So now I'm trying to find numbers that add up to negative 9 and multiply to 8. And numbers that would work for that are negative 8 and negative 1. So I'm going to take that middle term, right? And I'm going to split it up into negative 8y minus 1y. So the 4y squared stays the same on the outside. In the middle, I'm going to write negative 8y minus 1y. Not changing the value of my expression, just splitting that middle. And now I'm set up for the grouping. So I'm going to group these two and those two. Take out a 4y and have y minus 2. Here I'm going to take out a negative 1, right, to flip the signs, and have y minus 2. So now common binomial factor is y minus 2. And I have a 4y minus 1 left. So if you need to go back through and watch that process, but I am going to do it again on the next one. So here I want numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add up to negative 1. So numbers that will work for that are negative 4 and positive 3. So now I'm going to split the middle. So I'm going to rewrite my negative 1x as negative 4x plus 3x. Once again, those can be in the opposite order. And then I'm going to bring down my 6x squared and my negative 2. Then we're going to go over to grouping. So group the first two, group the second two. Here my GCF is 2x. And then I'm going to have 3x minus 2. And here I have a common factor of 1 because we have to take something out. And again, the 3x minus 2. So then I get 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 1. So let's work through some more. Just a side note, we are still always looking for GCFs as we do these. We just haven't had any yet because I haven't thrown that in with the other parts. So like for this one, 15x squared plus 13x plus 2, if everything had a factor of 2, I would still take out a GCF. I just don't have that combination yet. So going here, just get my colors back. So now we're trying to find numbers, and I don't really have room above, so I'm just going to write on the side, that add up to 13 and multiply to 15 times 2, so multiply to 30. So numbers that will work for that, 13 and multiply to 30 would be 10 and 3. So we're going to split the middle, and we're going to have a 10x plus 3x, and then I'll bring down those terms on the outside. So I have a 15x squared in the front and a 2 at the end. So from here we'll group. So I take out a 5x, and that gives me 3x plus 2. Take out a 1, 3x plus 2. So this one actually ends up having the same binomial factor the way I set it up. But then the 5x plus 1 is different because last one had 2x plus 1. Now, if I had switched these two and had 3x plus 10x, I would actually end up with the common binomial factor being 5x plus 1, okay? And then the 3x plus 2 would be the leftovers, so it would just basically switch these two, but it would still be the same answer. Now, the next one has that part that we've talked about before where we don't want that lead coefficient to be negative. So I'm just going to start out and take out a negative 1. Now, because this gets complex, I'm going to bracket this off. It just kind of shows, because we're going to have a ton of parentheses if I put parentheses around this, so I'm going to use brackets instead. It doesn't mean anything different in this situation. So this is going to be negative 15x and then plus 18. So now I'm going to factor what's in brackets, and I'm going to do this one a little quicker. I'll do some parts verbally versus writing everything out. So factors of 36, right? That add up to negative 15. So that's negative 12 and negative 3. And then I'm going to bring down the 2x squared and the 18. And my negative 1 is still in the front. And then I am going to go to grouping. So take out a 2x and take out a negative 3. And then we're ready to finish it off. So we have negative 1. Now I can get rid of my brackets because I'm pretty much done. So I see here I don't have a common binomial factor, and that's basically because I factored this incorrectly. So it should be a minus, right, when we take out a negative 3. So I have x minus 6 and 2x minus 3. As long as I pick the right factor pair, it should always work. So looking at the bottom two, now I will say these two are kind of tricky because they're going to be just hard numbers to factor. So we wanted to put a couple of these on just so you saw some and realized that, sometimes it's hard to find the factor pairs. I will show you a little trick on this. So I want this to multiply to negative 120. If I multiply that 3 times negative 40, if I'm not super familiar with the factors of negative 120, I can graph this in my calculator, okay? Y equals negative 120, or whatever number I'm multiplying to, divided by x. And then if I look at my table, it actually lists out all the factor pairs, because it's going to find numbers that are x that go into negative 120, divide by that, and then the y values will be the other factor that goes with that pair. So if I did go through these, ones that I not really even familiar with is 24 times 5 for this. So I'm going to use 24 and negative 5. So when I write this out, this is going to be 3x squared and a negative 40. And we will throw in positive 24x and negative 5x. And then we'll start to group. And take out the x plus 8 and have the 3x minus 5 left. So our last one, this one I'm going to write on the side. We're trying to add up to 13 and multiply to negative 300. Okay, so another tricky one, as I know the answer, but it would take me more than just, 10 seconds to figure it out if I didn't have it. It is positive 25 and negative 12. So calculator would be great for that one. So I have 10x squared, negative 30, and sorry, that 10 looks a little awful. 25x and 12x, and then we'll go to grouping and take out the 5x. It's going to give me 2x plus 5. Take out a negative 6, which is going to give me 2x plus 5. and then we take out the 2x plus 5 and have 5x minus 6 left.